Women CEOs in Fortune 1000 drive 3 times the returns as S&P 500 enterprises run predominantly by men. Yet, women only owns 5% of the startups. Women holds only 11% of the executive positions in the Silicon Valley companies. Women in the tech industry under the age of 25 earns on average 29% less than their men counterparts. What a contradiction. And yet, people state that we don't need a Women's Day in 2018. But from these figures, it's quite clear that in 2018, it's still a challenge to make room for 50% of the talent in the world. I'm sitting here with 3 leaders in Telenor, and hopefully they will help us, based on their experiences, give us more insight and reflection on the issue. So, Verdana, why do you think there's such a low representation of women in technology? And is this an issue for the industry or society at large? What do you think?
So, in part, I think the problem is a grassroots level issue, right? Unfortunately, in society, the gender stereotypes around women not being good at maths or not being great at technology start really young. And that discourages more girls from entering STEM as they go into high school and graduate schools and all that. So part of the problem really is supply. But then we also have issues in the workplace that don't necessarily help women want to get into STEM or technology roles, and they don't necessarily see themselves thriving in this space. A lack of women role models in technology certainly doesn't help. So not having enough senior women at the top both, I guess, contributes to less women being selected into these roles, but also fewer women looking up to these roles as something that they could aspire to be. It is definitely an issue, and it's a very, very big issue. So I work in technology, and my job is to help design solutions for the population, which it happens to be 50% women. So if we have men designing for 50% of the population, we can run into a lot of issues around not really understanding what problems we're trying to solve, and then not having diverse enough solutions that cater to a diverse client set.
We also see from the numbers that high-tech companies in 2016, not one of them have 50% estimates or higher for women in the workforce. So back to what you said, is the problem women selecting STEM subjects, or is the problem actually in the professional world, us or the companies not making room or space for the women? Let's go to you, Eva.
Well, there are several angles to that, Sumit. I think first there are a number of perceptional biases at the young age in several cultures, and cultures where Telenor operates too. There are strong biases at the very early age. I personally come from a Soviet world. I was born in 80s, where it was actually a perception, very strong perception in society, that math is too strong for a girl rather than a boy. I mean, the father-boy relationship at the computer programming was actually accepted, but not the other way around. So there are some very strong perceptional biases in some countries and nations. But I also agree that there are, in addition to that, there are also some challenges at the workplace. If you look today at the top high-tech companies and go in there and see sort of the work routines, you can see that there is still lack of flexibility. I mean, there's like a working hours from dawn, to very, very late. So this is sometimes a challenge. And my personal experience, I mean, I could just say, I think that when the opportunities arrive for a young or sort of working woman, you need to grab them. This is the chance that you need to grab them instead of waiting and planning. That is my personal experience that I was using. And I think not many, or there are women that are actually feeling, to some extent, well, forgotten or not listened to that. And there's probably sometimes I've seen also too much planning or too much support needed, maybe sometimes encouragement, maybe sometimes of a role model that really needs to be there. So I really agree with both of you actually saying this. So absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like you agree a lot.
Yeah. I
What's your
think the
experience?
problem is on both sides. You know, if you're a hiring manager, you are the one who is actually deciding on, you know, who you're going to hire. And obviously, I, as a hiring manager, would take the best person for the job. Whether that's a woman or a man, I really don't care. I want the best person for the job. And I think that's where we need to look into the managers today, who are, of course, mostly men in the companies that we represent, that they should perhaps take a more balanced look at their applicants as well, and look for the person that really is the best person for the job. And I fully agree with you. I think we as women also have a responsibility ourselves. We have to grab the opportunity, not plan too much, you know, whether you can have a baby at 30 or 28 or 35 or whatever, but just go for the possibility. When you have it, everything will sort itself out in most cases.
Just building on what Camilla was saying as well, I think what further also contributes to, I guess, a lack of women in the workplace, going back to the hiring manager point, is unfortunately, and this is to my utter disappointment, the why, you know, the business case for this is not widely understood. And that is really shocking to me, that even today, at times, you know, women employment is seen as a corporate social responsibility, a good to have versus a must have, and really not believing that having more women at senior levels can and will lead to better business results is very disappointing to me personally. So I think much probably is to be desired in terms of the education and the changing of the hearts and minds in corporations as well.
It's a must. I think we should start creating very active, strong role models, women, both in leadership positions, but also in top expert positions.
Based on my experience, I think mentoring is also quite good. So if you have a role model who is an expert, who is high on the top, has a managerial position in a company, maybe they could also mentor some of the ladies as to, you know, people think about what should I do in terms of career choice. Should I go for this job? Should I apply for that job? How should I sort of advance my career? I think it's helpful for the more senior ladies in more senior positions to actually help the younger ones to sort of take the right route.
So what kind of role does a global company like Telenor have?
I will always say, and I'm a proponent of a balancing act here. We have to do probably more than we do today. I'm also thinking that Telenor, being such a big company and global company, should probably also take a role towards more sort of a governance and sort of agenda at the national level, because the issue doesn't start only at the workplace. The issues start at the early stage, at the early ages, at schools and universities. Companies like Telenor, together with others, may actually encourage and sponsor programs at schools and kindergartens to actually have more girls with coding experience and programming, more specific training and mentoring for them.
Let's say it's still a man's world. What do women expect us men to do to be a part of the solution and close the gender gap in workplaces faster? What's kind of your expectations from, let's say, till 2030?
I would give a challenge not only to men. You asked us what's our message to men. I would give a message to everybody, both women and men, to make sure that they actually take a good look at the pipeline when they hire and promote people, and see that they have that they are building balanced teams and they're building balanced societies within the company in order to address this.
Just to add to that, I think it's a numbers game, but to make diversity work, we need to create a culture and an environment where women thrive and diversity is valued. So that's really important. And tied to that, then we need to pay close attention to why women are leaving. So supply side is fine, but notice should be taken of women leaving, and we really should understand the reason for why women, when we hire them, they do leave.
Yeah, well, let's start with you. You as a leader, do you have any tips for the young women out there?
Yes, I have one tip which I'd like to share. In the tech world where we are today, there's one tip for a young woman that I truly believe in. First, I mean, you will be in the minority very often. You will be among men. Be yourself. Show your strengths. Don't be discouraged by anything. Go and show. This is where I think the most important part of being a woman is in the workplace. And be brave.
Dana, you have any tips?
Really good tips. Slightly different note. If you are a young woman who wants to succeed in technology and in the corporate space, and you also want a partner, then choose one who would support your ambitions and would take an equal share of the workload in life as you progress through life and work.
Great. Lastly, Camilla, what's your tip?
I think I alluded to this earlier today, but I think it's important for young women who are, planning for their careers and planning for their families, perhaps not to plan so much. Just grab the opportunity when it comes, and also to be brave, to actually go for whatever is being offered to them, because everything will sort itself out at the end of the day.
So basically, this is not about quotas. This is about role modeling. This is about mentoring. This is about following the pipeline and not just do it in order to do something that following a regulation, but this is about doing what's right, because we also see that when we have a more diverse team, when we have diversity and gender balance on the top, companies actually perform better. So with this, we will close the Women's Day session. And do remember that the Women's Day is not just today on 8th of March. Women's Day is actually every day. And with these words, congratulations with the Women's Day, and have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.